The moment he yelled it, it didn't sound like desperation. It sounded like prophecy. There are events in life where the human soul reacts before the brain fully understands the threat. Moments where instinct screams seconds before logic catches up. And this was one of those moments. The janitor, Adrian Hale, dropped the recycling bag right there in the entrance lobby, his broom clattering loudly across the marble floor as he sprinted toward the company driveway. "D-ain't-a-car!" He roared so loud that every executive in the glass lobby froze. The CEO, Alexander Rice Dalton, turned sharply. He had never heard any employee raise their voice like that in this building. Not here, not in the most prestigious tech HQ in Chicago, not at 8:37 a.m. when everyone was arriving in perfect rhythm like an orchestrated corporate ballet. Heads turned, people stared. HR officers watching from the mezzanine level went pale, because it wasn't just loud, it was panicked. But Adrian didn't care who was watching, or what this could cost him. His chest heaved like someone who had just outrun the end of the world. The chauffeur, who had just stepped out to open the rear door of the black sedan waiting at the curb, paused mid-motion. His hand hovered above the handle like he wasn't sure if this was a joke or an attack. Alexander stared at the janitor. This quiet, low-profile, never-in-the-way night shift single father. Like he had suddenly switched universes. "What are you talking about?" Alexander demanded, brows drawn tight, voice sharp with authority. "What's wrong with the car?" Adrian's voice cracked, not with weakness, but with memory. "There's a device under the chassis," he rasped. "Do en pa mata do." Our security moved instantly. Two guards rushed forward, one hand already reaching for his holster. Because nobody yells like that in a corporate building unless something catastrophic is about to happen. A few employees gasped. Some pulled out their phones. Others instinctively backed away, because there is a primal part of the human brain that knows when death is close, even before it sees proof. But to understand how a janitor knew something the CEO of a billion-dollar company did not, you have to go back just seconds before the shouting. Adrian was taking out the trash, like always. He worked early morning cleaning shifts 3 times a week. His daughter, Lily, was dropped off at school at 7:40 a.m. sharp every day, and then he rushed to work for the 8 a.m. turnover from the night custodial team. He never lingered. He never socialized. He never talked unless spoken to. He cleaned, he worked, he survived. He was invisible by design. The world never gave mercy to men who showed the weight they carried, so he learned to carry it silent. But that morning, when he walked past the executive entrance, he noticed something off with the security camera angle near the company driveway gate. It was slightly misaligned downward, a few centimeters, but enough that the underside of the CEO vehicle caught his eye on the left edge reflection of the glass lobby door. Most people would never notice. But his brain was trained differently. Once upon a time, not so long ago, he wasn't a janitor. He was trained for tactical threat recognition, for counter-surveillance, for risk pattern mapping. Skills he buried to protect his daughter from a life she should never have been anywhere near. Skills he never used anymore, until he saw the underside metallic block wired unnaturally tight toward the rear axle with pressure clamps. He recognized that shape immediately. Memory hit him like a tidal surge. Those long nights overseas where silence felt loud and bombs didn't need countdown timers. His fingers went numb. His breath left him in a single violent exhale. His instinct screamed faster than thought. And that's when he ran. And now, standing here, every executive, every security officer, every assistant frozen in their expensive shoes, all stared as the weight of his words filled the morning lobby like heavy smoke. "Call the bomb squad," Adrian panted, pointing at the underside of the sedan. "And clear this entire driveway and nub you." Alexander's jaw clenched, anger at first, then confusion, then something darker crept in. Fear. Not for himself, but for how someone could get this close to him. To his car, to his world. Who would do this? He whispered, not expecting an answer. Adrian didn't respond right away. His eyes scanned every window reflexively. Like old habits lived inside his bones whether he wanted them or not. There was a story here that nobody in this building knew. Why a janitor recognized a bomb faster than the CEO recognized a threat to his own life. But that answer would come later. For now, officers rushed. Someone triggered the internal alert system. Executives scattered like startled birds, heels clicking in panic across polished floors, as the building suddenly resembled a battlefield evacuation instead of a luxurious corporate tower. Alexander looked at Adrian, really looked. This was more than a random coincidence. Something about the intensity in the man's eyes told him this wasn't just a man who recognized danger. It was a man who knew it intimately. "Stay right here," Alexander ordered quietly. "You're not moving until we talk." Adrian just exhaled and closed his eyes for a second. Like that single breath cost him 5 years of life. He didn't yell to be dramatic. He didn't yell for attention. He yelled because that car door opening, just 3 seconds later, would have vaporized the CEO and anyone within 20 feet. And deep inside, buried under layers of trauma and survival, he knew exactly who wanted Alexander dead. Because they once wanted him dead too. The flashing red lights of emergency vehicles painted the glass lobby in streaks of chaos. Sirens echoed faintly from the street below, their reflections gliding across the marble floor like broken ribbons of light. People whispered in anxious clusters, holding their phones, recording, murmuring the same question over and over. "Who is that janitor?" Outside, the bomb squad was already securing the perimeter. Their voices were sharp, urgent, and laced with disbelief. Because it wasn't every day a janitor prevented the assassination of one of Chicago's most powerful CEOs. Adrian stood quietly near the security desk, his uniform dusted with debris, his breathing slow but uneven. His hands still trembled slightly, not from fear, but from memory. He watched as the squad approached the car, the team leader motioning for a containment drone to roll beneath the vehicle. The moment the monitor displayed a grainy image of the wired device, a collective gasp ran through the gathered employees. "Confirmed," the lead technician said into his radio. "We've got a live explosive. Remote, triggered, pressure, activated." Alexander Dalton felt the words slice through the air like razors. His face paled. He stepped back as if distance could dull the realization that death had been waiting just under his own car door. He glanced at Adrian again. This quiet, unassuming man who had just saved his life. When the area was finally cordoned off, Adrian tried to slip away. He wasn't interested in praise or attention. He only wanted to go home, to Lily. But 2 security officers blocked his path gently. "Sir, Mr. Dalton would like a word." Adrian froze. His gut tightened. He didn't want that conversation. He didn't want to explain how he knew what he knew. Every instinct told him to disappear before his past started bleeding into his present. But he couldn't walk away this time. Not without making it look suspicious. Minutes later, he was in the CEO's private office on the top floor. The view stretched across the city skyline. Gray clouds pressed against the horizon like smoke from a distant fire. The office smelled faintly of cedar and polish, every corner neat, controlled. Alexander stood behind his desk, not with the commanding posture of a CEO, but like a man who had just seen his entire world tilt off its axis. "You saved my life," he said finally, voice low, measured. "And I want to understand how you knew what that was before even my head of security did." Adrian hesitated. "Sir, I used to work in a different field." "Different field?" Alexander repeated, his brow arching. "That's a vague way to put it." Adrian swallowed hard. He didn't like the look in the man's eyes. Sharp, calculating. The kind of gaze that could turn gratitude into interrogation in seconds. "Let's just say, I've seen things like that before. I knew what I was looking at." Alexander studied him. "You're not just a janitor, are you?" Adrian forced a tired half smile. "I'm exactly what the uniform says I am. I just used to be something else." The CEO crossed his arms. "You do realize the police are going to want a full statement. If you recognize the device that quickly, they'll assume you're connected somehow." Adrian's jaw tensed. "I know how it looks. But I swear I have nothing to do with that thing. I just couldn't let anyone die." There was a pause, long, tense, heavy with unspoken questions. "Who would want me dead?" Alexander finally muttered, pacing toward the window. His reflection looked fractured in the glass. No ransom. No threat. Nothing. Adrian stared at him for a long time, then said quietly, "Sometimes it's not about who you are. It's about what you represent." That made Alexander turn. "What do I represent, Mr. Hale?" Adrian hesitated. He wasn't sure if he should say it. But some truths refused to stay buried. "You built your empire on a contract that destroyed a lot of people's livelihoods. I read about your company once years ago. Your security division absorbed a small contractor out of D.C. Helix Operations." Alexander's eyes narrowed slightly. "Yes, a merger. That's public record." Adrian's heart hammered. "It wasn't a merger," he said softly. "It was a dismantling. Helix used to handle private logistics in conflict zones. After your acquisition, they lost their contracts. and a lot of people were cut loose without protection. Some of those men had specialized training. Are you implying this is revenge? Alexander demanded. Adrian looked down. I'm saying some ghosts don't rest easy. The CEO studied him again, this time, not as a janitor, not even as an employee, but as someone who might hold answers he couldn't afford to ignore. Who are you really? He asked, voice barely above a whisper. Adrian didn't reply. He just stared out at the skyline, eyes distant, haunted. Outside, the faint boom of a controlled detonation shook the building. The bomb squad had just neutralized the threat. A ripple of applause broke out somewhere below. But up here, in the quiet of that glass office, the silence was louder than any explosion. Alexander turned toward the sound. They disarmed it. He murmured, relief washing briefly over his features. Thank God. Adrian didn't answer. Because deep inside, he knew this wasn't over.